Google. Hi, Terry.
And then,
How are
hey,
you?
okay, how are you?
Good, good, good.
I'll begin, if I may, by saying thank you so much for inviting us to this meeting. I was here for the first time last week. And yes, Raquel, thank you. I didn't realize you had reached out in April, but I'm glad you mentioned it again. And here we are. And immediately when you said, invite a guest, sunshine, yes. That was not a second thought. So, we talked the other day, and what we do need to be mindful of, and I'm not sure if somebody has a timer, because this is my cousin, Sunshine, everybody, my older cousin. My mother, her mom is my mom's sister. We have the same grandfather, different grandmothers. And what we talked about the other day was to be mindful is that we don't go way beyond the hour, because just talking about what we might consider talking about was 45 minutes within itself. And then we went on another hour. So we tend to have this conversation on a regular basis. So I'm excited that she was available and said yes. And I think when we began saying, how will we start this conversation? You made a suggestion. Do you remember what it was? What did you suggest we start, if you can remember?
Um, well, there was a couple of suggestions rolling around in my head, but definitely as people of faith already, the differentiation between people who come to us through AA and who want to have conversations around spirituality compared to those who want to be guided. Yeah, I mean, I'm a ordained minister. You are a priest in your faith tradition, and sometimes we struggle. I'll make that a nice statement. Like sometimes I struggle in drawing that line between who's one of my clients and the people that I hold as my clients in confidentiality compared to someone in AA who just wants to like pick my brain and having that opportunity to say, wait a minute, this is what I do for a living. And just, having those kinds of conversations while at the same time feeling so deeply connected with spirit and wanting, of course, to share and to guide people, and yet knowing that, there's a difference in, guidance or a one-time conversation. Was that the one?
I think so. So let's see if we can go with it. Let me introduce myself. If I didn't already, my name is Theresa. I'm an alcoholic. Go ahead, Nana.
Yeah. And I have alcoholism myself, and I've been sober for 38 years. And my idea and concept of a higher power spirit, that great reality, the broad highway, all of those things that Bill Wilson talks about have been expanded upon since I first walked into the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, talking about, yeah, I have a problem with alcohol. So yes, I'm an alcoholic.
And my sobriety date is March 29, 1990. So I've been here 35 years. Sunshine is my mother's Eskimo. She found my mother in Venice Beach, brought her to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. And then through the years of watching them, believe it or not, the seed was planted. There was an attraction. And then I came in, and afterwards my uncle. And so, even though there's a lot of alcoholism, I think we talked about also what's the differences, right? All these biases and prejudices that we came into the rooms with, perhaps, or perhaps not, right? The differences between us in that sense. We have a lot of family members, although there's alcoholism and addiction, at least on mommy's side, on my grandfather's side, that we also have priests. We have priests and religious people who are very devoted religiously, and there's a lot of influence growing up with that influence, and how we brought that into the rooms and began to sort out and shift through and discern, right? The things that we wanted to apply, put the rest on the shelf, came back full circle, picked them up. I do have to say, you will hear her call me Terry because that's what my family calls me. I told her, please don't say Theresa because that would be so awkward to call me Theresa. And I tend to call her Nena. Originally, she was Annie. And Sunshine growing up in the neighborhood, right? Remember you had Sunshine?
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
then, yeah, now we have Sunshine, but I call her Nena. She's a Nena.
Yep.
She has a Nena face. So,
Yeah.
just so you know the names on how we identify with one another because it's being recorded. So, I was thinking about that, right? Remember I mentioned to you I had so much admiration and respect for your mom, who was a
Yeah.
devoted Jehovah Witness.
Yeah.
More so, and my aunt, her mom passed away recently. And one of the things I admired and respect about her was that regardless of what anybody said, what anybody thought, who didn't agree, who didn't join, she was true to her faith. True to her faith. And although I may be what we call an ialocha, but people you can identify as a priest, sometimes I don't think I have as much devotion as Titi did. You know what I mean? As I saw her do. Now I wasn't with her 24/7, but that's what I witnessed. And that's what I mean by taking what applies and putting the rest on the shelf. Like I say, perhaps these religious people are right. Right? What could they be right about? The sense of dedication and devotion and submission, regardless of perhaps what other people think. So I know you, what was that for you? Because we went to Kingdom Hall together when I would go visit you at your house. So what would you say that was for you coming in the rooms with that upbringing?
Yeah. For me growing up Catholic and then being Jehovah's Witness, I had this love of God, and this devotion. And what I knew was that there was a power and a presence and a life, and we called it God or Jehovah. And I loved going out on service and knocking on people's door to talk to them about the Bible. Where things shifted for me was as I got older and I recognized my own sexuality and that I was attracted to girls. Cause here I am, a girl at age 15, 16, and I'm attracted to girls. And then having my mom find out, and she told on me, and then they kicked me out because I was baptized. I love talking about God. I loved reading the Bible and discerning and doing those kinds of things. It seemed to come natural to me. I wanted to become a priest, but they told me in in the Catholic tradition that I could become a nun. I looked at the nuns and I was like, there's no way I'm going to be a nun. That just it didn't call to me. So I was very distraught, and I know that my alcoholism, just really took a turn for the worse. I'm grateful for it because it brought me back to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. But when the people of the Kingdom Hall, when I was disfellowshipped and they saw me, they could look at me, but they couldn't speak to me. I was an outcast. And so I was shunned. And I don't know about a whole lot of people, but, in my life, I had already experienced being an outcast. My dad died when I was 4. My mom, my sister, my grandmother, they were all light skinned. I was dark skinned. They would outwardly but affectionately call me La Negra Prieta, which is like the dark blackie, the dark darkie. And of course, in Puerto Rican families, that's a term of endearment, but it also separated me. And so when the Jehovah's Witnesses kind of shunned me and separated me, my drinking career, if you will, really, got way out of hand and control. And, for a long time, I didn't want to have anything to do with traditional gods. I tried, chanting and looking for other ways of feeling that connection, but I definitely found it with the booze and the drugs and the people that I was hanging around. And then getting sober, that whole idea of looking at the steps and like right away finding God and higher power and turn my will in my life, it was like, oh man, what an order. I can't do this. I just came from that. But this was my last hope, my last hope. But, yeah, you had that experience, Tere, of going to the Kingdom Hall. Like, was it like weird and cultish, or like what
Oh,
did you find about it?
No, well, I was hanging out with you. So
Yeah.
I looked up to my cousin Sunshine. I thought she was like the coolest. I was like, she going, we going. And we played around anyway. Remember we would go to Bible
Yeah.
study and
Yeah.
we were laughing and playing. So it was just fun. Another way of
Yeah.
hanging out. But I too, like yourself, I went to Catholic school for 11 and a half years. I too always had this sense of love and appreciation for this God idea, this spiritual perspective. I was doing spiritual readings since I was 5, calling upon the ancestors and spirit guides, going into meditation and prayer. What was interesting though is I've shared about this, is that I saw these two worlds separate from one another. I saw the world of God, of spirit, of creator, of the universe, separate from what I call planet Earth. And so whenever I related to Earth, it was like lions and tigers and bears. Oh my.
Oh my. Yeah.
Be contradictive and hypocritical and mean. I didn't see the euphoric beauty of what I saw in the world of spirit and in God. I didn't see it here, and alcohol numbed me from even wanting to see it here. Like it just didn't really matter. And so when I came into the room, somehow what I heard was that these two worlds can live together cohesively, and that there was a way to bring in the world of spirit in my being, and that it can coexist. And now, because I don't have alcohol anyway to help me in planet Earth, that I was going to need something.
Yeah.
And the something was what I thought was in another dimension and another time, was within me the whole time. And that was exciting.
Yeah, I love the way you said that. And I noticed that I have a smile on my face, and I noticed that I feel like a warmth in my cheeks when you say that, because I can identify and relate with what you're talking about, Terry. Um, the idea that those two could coexist came to me in Alcoholics Anonymous, and it came to me also though in a real human way, in that um they can coexist even with me being the alcoholic dope fiend, you know, I'm gonna say it, fuck up, that I had become. And not only that, that because I was shunned away for my sexual orientation, that there's the possibility that I had a misunderstanding of spirit, of God, because that's what I kept saying to those Jehovah's Witnesses. They kept saying that it was unnatural, that I'm an abomination. And what I kept saying to them is like, wait a minute, what kind of cruel joke would a loving God put upon its creation to for me to have this natural affection to another human being, but it's like, oh no, not that person. You cannot love that person. You cannot be in relationship with that person. Like what? That's a cruel cosmic joke. And it was only through the mustard seed of faith that it talks about in the big book, and just enough to crack the door open to possibly even believe and trust that there's a higher power, a spirit, this great reality that I could actually turn my will and my life over to, and that I wasn't going to be punished for my humanity, for my human experience, for who I am, for how I show up, but in fact that I am loved and honored and cared for. And that was just the beginning of my path. I mean, like right now, as well as I, through all of our conversations, that I'm not even one who believes like in a deity, aka that there's a God in the sky that is kind of ruling over, like Santa Claus. Have you been good or bad this year? What kind of gifts are you going to get? What kind of blessings are you going to get? As much as my cosmology, my belief has morphed and grown and expanded, my consciousness has expanded to knowing that what we call God is life itself. It's energy. It doesn't have a race or a religion. It doesn't belong to a nationality. It's ageless. It's eternal. It's neither male nor female. And that all of the things that all these well-meaning people, especially people of religion, taught me about God was just simply a beginning. And it wasn't the end. It wasn't the totality, but it was the beginning. And in the beginning for me, having those worlds collide and that they can actually coexist was like, wow, I can connect back to that awe that I had for spirit, for life, for God, if you will, as a young person, because it was more of a feeling. It wasn't like I'm pleasing some deity. I'll be good. I swear I'll be good. It's not that I had to perform and behave. More now, it's like I get to live in the sweetness and in the flow of life, and that life, aka God, is for me and not against me, and that it is that essence of spirit of God lives in everything. Because even if the great religion said, in the beginning there was God and God created everything. Well, it wasn't like God had a garage and went to the garage to go make some stuff. God had to create from itself, because if it was the only thing, it's really the only thing. And
Okay.
so if it's the only thing, it can only create from itself. And so through some act of involution, creating out of itself, voila, here's the manifestation of God, the universe, the stars, the planets, the dogs, the trees, the mountains, the water. It's all God. And even science proves it today that we got the same stuff the stars have. And to me, that makes sense. And that it's not, that God's not personal, like looking at me going, what you doing? But that God is personal to me. In other words, it's my idea. It's how I flow, and how the relationship that I have with this indwelling power and presence. And it totally reminds me, and I want to hear about how you describe spirit for you, because this automatically reminds me of Bill Wilson on page 55 of the Big Book, when he says, that deep down within every man, woman, and child is the fundamental idea of God, and that it is, obscured by calamity and this and that and the other thing. In other words, we're bombarded with all our human experiences that we don't even know that God is at the center of our being, living as us. But I think I'm my race and my age and my gender and my orientation, and I get all caught up in my world that I forget that the great reality on the bottom of 55, it says that it's only there, where the great reality can be found. It is only within that's where it's found. And so I always find it fascinating, and I get to meet people where they are. If God is a he and in the sky, or a deity, or Baha'u'llah, or Jesus, I meet people where they are. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And we get to grow from there. What was your growth like?
So many things you said, my head was going. Normally, I was saying cultural would be like interrupting one another, like, and another thing. And yes,
Another thing. But wait a minute.
but wait,
Espérate.
but hold that thought. It's also harder, I noticed, because on Zoom, if one can't talk over the other, like you lose the other. So I'm mindful, right, of the way
Yeah.
we like really have this conversation, even with interruptions. Because so many things you were saying were coming up for me. I thought about the innocence as a child that Bill talked about, right? When, when you reflect back and you look back. But what I also came up for me was in this particular phrase of what this is called here, right? Which means we're going to talk about God, is in the chapter of agnostics.
To the agnostic, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Invitation of saying, let's take a look at all your biases. Let's take a look at the issues that obstruct me from seeing the innocence, right? Within myself.
Yeah.
You know what came up for me? Even when you were talking, which I have always appreciated, that, you have this place of going, God, it's just extraordinary. I still go back to those old ideas that I'm being punished,
Mm-hmm.
that perhaps I'm doing something wrong, that it is looking at me going, make sure you act right and do the right thing. And it comes from also the belief system in which I agree to. We were talking about that, the contract that I made to go back to my tradition of 4 generations of an African tradition that has doctrine and it has instruction and the way I'm obligated to live my life, whether I like it or not, whether I agree with it or not. This is how you live. And if you do not do these things, not that I'll be punished, but I'll be self-destructive. And although I can use that to say what a horrible thing or see it similar in other situations. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is as I'm saying something that nobody else has to deal with, but everybody has to deal with that. That's why we don't rob a bank. You know what I mean? Some do. Or murder somebody. Or this thing about that we were talking about that. I'm so against religion. I'm not into religion. I'm spiritual. Are you? Are you a member of Alcoholics Anonymous? Because I see in the rooms every Sunday morning, I go to never too early, like somebody that goes to church every morning. I don't miss it, no matter what. I go in there with my big book in hand. You know what I'm saying? And as we've been talking here, you share. According to page so and so,
I'm
Bill
like quoting scripture, right? Yeah.
Bill said such and such. For me to drink is to die. How is that different if I don't follow, right, the guidelines of God or whatever this religious ideology is, that I'm not doomed to despair? I think what's opened up my mind even more as a religious study major, right? A few things, right, through my journey in these 35 years, not only surrendering to my tradition, but doing a lot of inventory and self-examination of the things that block me from the authentic. Lovey used to say, to get to my authentic self. That was my sponsor.
Yes.
To my authentic self, to the innocence of all of it, is that I have to examine it and look at it and use critical thinking in a sense, right? To consider it and think about it. And when I began going to school, whether began with first psychology, then sociology, then religious studies, and also my brother, right? Tony was studying at seminary, and
Mm-hmm.
within 5 years at seminary, at least the 4 years that he got his cancer, I would take him to class. And I did all his notes. I would listen. I would help with the homework. And so in a way, I was learning at seminary as well. And I began to ask myself some questions. As in religious studies, it's not about so much it's not that the why they're doing it. It's just that they do it. And let's have a greater understanding on how it impacts one's life, right? And their understanding of living, whether it's the death, rituals, dying. There's some practices that believe we live a certain life because of what's waiting in the afterlife. And then there's some traditions that believe there is no afterlife. So what matters is how we live today. And so I think as usual, I always say, to my professors, I have more questions than I do statements, professor, because
Yeah.
talk about having an open mind, but yet coming to a place of when it's all said and done. The language that we use in Alcoholics Anonymous is a God of your own understanding. And I think it's a way to get alcoholics to even try to conceive of something, to let go of their prejudices and biases. Why is there starvation in the world, right? Why was I sexually abused? Why are we X'd out from a community? And now I'm studying, right, my master's in humanity. And it's kind of like, that is mankind.
Right.
That is man itself. And God is a part of all that. The yin, the yang, the good, the bad. And when it's all said and done, there is no right real right answer other than the one that I find within myself. And that's constantly unfolding. I can't say that I'm completely like, that's what I mean by attraction with Diti, that I am
Yeah.
so, you know what I mean? So steadfast to that only way. I still am unfolding and taking some stuff and going, I don't know if I'm with that anymore. I think I want to now take a look at this. And the beauty is that it's so organic and it's so personal and intimate that I get to do that. And I think Alcoholics Anonymous gives me the playground to do it. Like Rico always says, my sponsor says, Earth University. So we get to do it in Earth University.
Real time. And yeah, real time right here on Earth. One of the things that you touched upon that I want to go a little bit deeper about are those biases, those things that block us from knowing God, spirit, infinite intelligence, the great reality on a personal level, are those hidden beliefs. And all of those hidden beliefs, in my humble opinion, were formulated when we were children. Because if I look at the cycle of socialization and how we're socialized, how we're trained to be human beings, little human beings, like here we are out of the chute and we're dressed in pink or blue, or we're told that if you're this sex or this sex, you get to do this or do this, and this is what you get to do, and you get brought to churches and religious institutions, and don't talk to strangers. Well, who's a stranger? And those little things, even about Santa Claus, that I still relate to God, that took me a while to be rid of, to uncover and discover and discard. Right? That's what I love about this, is that these hidden beliefs, and I still have so many in my 62 years on the planet. I'm still uncovering these hidden beliefs, either based in trauma, aka those childhood wounds, or the ways my nervous system couldn't handle certain family dynamics, especially too as a teenager, getting disfellowshipped, and it's like you're out of the clan. You're out of the clan. You're out of the family. You're not welcome here. Like, well, you could come, but we're not going to talk to you, kind of thing. That those things plant seeds, just like when you said earlier, that when I helped your mom get sober, that some seeds were planted, and so those seeds take root, and they take root in me, unbeknownst to myself, that whether they're true or not, because they were true for me as a child. And a great example of how that works is, you mentioned that mommy just died. It's been 2 months, and I remember coming home. I headed to the airport on my way home, and I remember that I was crying and wailing, and just, I'm just trying to keep my eyes open enough so I'm not crashing this rental car, and I remember like banging on the steering wheel saying, not my mom, not my mom. And it hit me because I get to do my work, right? I get to do my uncovering work. It hit me in that moment when I heard myself say, not my mom, that I had this hidden belief that everybody else could die, but not my mom. Everybody else go ahead and drop dead, but not my mom. And it's an unrealistic belief. And it's those same, to tie it back to this conversation that we're going to talk about God, somewhere along the lines, I heard from mommy, I'll never leave you. I'll always be here for you. And we say that to lovers. We say that to friends. I got you. I'm always here for you. But always is always. And always means right now. And you not, like she's not here with me right now. And so the same applies to our idea of God, whether it's biblically or through the Torah or through the Bhagavad Gita or the Quran or any of the spiritual books, there's always this thing about this idea of God, and it's always a lot smaller than what God is.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get stuck or when I have these unrealistic ideas of God or about getting sober, well, that shit shouldn't happen because I'm sober now. Like, I'm supposed to have life on easy street. It's incumbent upon me, right? Now, not to excavate those hidden beliefs. They're in there, that God is this and God is that and God is the other thing, and really look at it and go, is that what I believe?
Mm-hmm.
Is that really what I believe? Because if I believe that, then let me be about that. But if I don't, let me discard it and throw it and find what I do believe. Here's another quick story about that exactly. I was snuba in Maui. I like snorkeling because I could put the thing in my mouth and just stay on the surface and breathe. But snuba, they keep a tank. It's like scuba diving, but you don't have the tank on the back. It stays on a little thing. And I had this mask on and it had air. And that meant that I can go down deep and I can just breathe through this thing. And I couldn't do it. As much as I love being in the ocean and seeing all the animal life and everything, they put 15-pound weights on me so I could be heavier, stop fighting. And at some point I said, Rev, I talked to myself in the third person as an ordained minister. I said, okay, Rev, either you believe life is eternal or it isn't. And if it ain't, then stop telling people life is eternal and just get down there and be about seeing it. Because if you die here, if you quote unquote die and life is eternal, you're going to just wake up wherever it is you're going to wake up. Otherwise, don't be telling people life's eternal and you don't even believe that because you're not even willing to go. And it was like, oh yeah, con razón. Yeah, that makes sense. And it was in that moment that I had to put the action to my faith and to what I said I believed. And I had to do it. And when I did, I was kicking myself in the butt going, man, I wasted so much time up there trying to fight and stay afloat. But it was exactly what I needed, right? I don't regret it. It was exactly what I needed to then be even more steeped in what I believe and uncover the stuff that I don't believe. And I think that's so key as sober people and as people in recovery, because to recover means to regain one's whole self, or like Lovey would say, the authentic self, to regain the whole self. So the whole self is who I am, that center in me that Bill Wilson talks about, that has never been hurt or harmed, that indwelling place of the Most High, of God, of infinite intelligence, to regain yeah, I'm having this human experience here. And just like I came here into this expression, I may not be aware of any other expression before this one, but and people think it's arrogant, but I say this all the time, not all the time. I say this often is I am the unique and unrepeatable, magnificent, powerful way that God shows up in human flesh.
Mm-hmm.
Because if in the beginning there was God and only God, and God created from itself, then there's nothing that separates me from spirit. Just like a beautiful tree is the way that God expresses in tree form, and the ocean is, and so
It's interesting how, if I may, isn't that something why is it that when I refer to this God idea, it's always in the optimism and positive? I'm just, you know what I mean? Because there's this expression, of the trees, of the flowers, of,
And,
being empowered and beautiful. If God is in all things, right?
and it
God
is,
is everything,
yes.
right? Or God is nothing, then is it not also in the storm, in the suffering, in the pain,
In
in
the
the,
fire,
right?
absolutely.
So I just want to, because I was noticing when I was hearing you, and I think that's what happens sometimes. That's even old ideas. That when I
Yes.
refer to God, it has to be all good. Or is it all good? Is it perception? But there are like, it just, because there are experiences that I've had in the darkness, and there God is.
Well, the darkness is the origin of spirit
Oh,
anyway, because
exactly.
that's a whole nother talk show.
That's the whole,
Because,
we can get
right?
into
Yeah, we could get into that.
it.
And yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think the only nuance to what I'm hearing is that in this human form, I'm subject to the duality of life. And I'm subject to the pain and suffering. But even if I am in the pain of, let's say, the physical ailment, I hurt my shoulder, I can still find spirit there and in this pain. And I can even ask, what are you here
Mhm.
to teach me, to remind me? Oh
Yes.
yeah, well, I was having rough sex and there you go. I threw out my shoulder. Or I just wanted to make y'all laugh. But,
Sometimes
or I was
not,
playing
yeah.
pickleball or doing something
Uh-huh.
crazy and I wasn't really paying attention to my body motion. And so God is there to remind me like, yes, yes, you are powerful and strong and all of this, and you're in a human body. It has its limitations, beloved. So that, there you are. But,
Or
even in the bomber, even in the people
how,
who bomb and hurt others, is God there? And that one is a little more difficult to swallow. And what I usually just settled with is that absolutely God is there.
mm,
Yes, absolutely God is there. And sometimes in our human experience, we forget who we are. And
hmm
that things like this happen to remind us of our unity and our oneness and that we're actually stronger together than we are apart. I mean, this thing around racism and politics and countries and this and that and the other thing, those are human constructs to separate us for people who want power and control compared to when I remember spirit. Everybody's my neighbor. The people in Ukraine, in Gaza, in South Africa, in China, in Russia, like those are my neighbors. Those are my neighbors.
and how do we love the unlovable?
And,
Because
and yeah,
I mean, how do we love the unlovable? I mean, as a practitioner, right? My ministry, my clergy is to teach others. We even teach it in Alcoholics Anonymous. Then why do we do the sick man prayer, right?
yeah,
Is it that I take a look at where am I at fault and what am I self-righteous, judgmental, right? Perspective on that situation? Because there is where I get out of the prism of my mind, right? And what I believe is supposed to happen.
yeah,
And so I think about everything as an invitation of self-analysis and self-examination. And that I seek out this idea, this God idea, even the idea that there is no God. I was talking with my sponsee. We had that in our class last week, that there is no God is dead. God died. God does not exist. And that came out of World War II, right? Right? These experiences that we
hmm
Mother Teresa herself felt that God had forsaken her because she saw nothing but suffering, and she felt that she was abandoned by God. I look at greater men than me, right? Whether it's Jesus Christ, whether it's Buddha, they all in the garden, right? Or they said, Jesus said, why have you forsaken me, right? But yet also says, forgive them for they do not know what they do. But do they
they
not
do.
know what they do? If it's not a soul contract, if it's predestined in design, if it's exactly as it should be, it's interesting conversation to unpack. I think
Yeah,
It's an opportunity for each and every one of us, whether it's people in recovery or not, that what we have, I'm going to use the term, the God-given right, is to ask ourselves those questions, to seek out what we believe to be true now, make decisions based on that, and we have a right to change our mind. Like,
Absolutely.
I was thinking about one thing you mentioned of the boys. I was struggling with my nephews. I remember Everett came back from church and he said the pastor told him that if he prayed really, really hard for what he wanted, at the end of the year, he would get it. Now, I didn't want to de-edify the pastor, okay? And so I was like, how do I share my experience about that? Because, of course, I'm going to put in my biases, my fears come in and go, he's going to pray for something. He's not going to get it at the end of the year. And then he's going to be really pissed off with this God idea. And so I just prayed on, please give me insight on how, not that I could take that idea away, but how can I get creative with it? And sure enough, I was at a conference in Dallas speaking there, and in the hospitality room, they had God boxes. So I made him a God box. And then I came back and I told them how I use the God box. And I'm like, I put all of my hopes and my dreams and, dreams and concerns and problems, I put it in the God box. And I leave it up to God. Like I have a sign by my bed that says, go, give it to God and go to sleep, right? I even have it on my God box. I'd be like, okay, God, I'm going to let you handle that while I go take a nap. And when I wake up, you'll let me know what to do. And I told him now, when I put it in the box, I let it go. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. But I trust because God is, as you were saying, infinite, all into all being. I'm going to trust that I'll be guided either what to do about it or have a way it will manifest itself. And at the time, I think Maddox was like 4 or 5, something crazy, 6, really young. Let's just say before 10. And he was like, oh, I get it. So it's almost like, because their mom was gone, right? Tony's a single. I get it. So it's like if I put in there that because I've been praying for mom to come back. I've been wanting mom to come back since she left. So I can put in the God box for my mom, that I want my mom in my life. And he goes, and anything can happen. Mom can visit more. I can have other women in my life to be the mother figure, like this little kid, like totally. Yeah. And that was really what I wanted to share with them. Not to get, because it could change through the years as they got older, that this idea, what can happen with prejudices and biases and struggle is, I'm going to use ego self, right? Tells God how things should be.
Yeah.
Yet I say it's an infinite power. Is it? Can I trust that I will learn more about what I'm asking? Remember we were talking about that I'm limited. I'm not punished in my tradition or made to suffer because I'm unable to ask for anything, direct anything, request anything, pursue anything. When I first heard it, it's like, I'm being punished, right? What did I do in a past life? It's like, believe it or not, most people would live better if they did that. It's because everything that you think you will ask, you will pursue, you will insist upon is so finite, and that God is infinite. And so as I unpack even those biases, and maybe God is dead, there is no God, God is cruel, God is good. I was on a sponsor. Why is it that every time we think of let go and let God, I always feel like I'm not going to get my way? What is that all about? And it's not the question. Most people think, oh, I shouldn't ask that question. To me, you should. And for those of us who are practitioners and do help people, what I do more for the people that I work with, whether it's even developing meditation or speaking to ancestors and sacred spaces, is asking ourselves those questions.
Yeah.
And finding through meditation, which I know I'll tell you about, you guys. I'm watching the time because sunshine.
Yeah.
Okay. Really?
Yeah.
We could spend hours on the development of prayer and meditate. I think we spent another hour, right? When we got back, when we started getting into meditation, we spent another hour. So just the God idea itself it appears as though we have differences, but if we really were to examine them, they're all the same, including one who says, I don't believe in religion.
And religion. Yeah.
But do you believe in football? We do a lot of things religiously.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I don't believe in a higher power, but you turn your will and your life over to the bottle called spirits? Very interesting.
Yeah. Totally, totally. And you reminded me with all the slogans that we have around the rooms that what I think has happened is that through our human experiences, humanity has almost indoctrinated AA with its religious beliefs. Keep coming back, it works, and the dogma, we gotta hold hands, we gotta a moment of, like all of those things are dogmatic, like religion. And it makes me laugh, but one of my favorite ones is watch what you pray for, because you just might get it, and when we're
Yeah, yeah, I'm sorry.
yeah, no. It's so true. It's that whole thing like, oh yeah, I freaking prayed for patience this morning and this line is outrageous. And it's like, well, if I get to practice patience. But here's the other thing, especially around Maddox and around our idea of if I if I am the unique, unrepeatable way that God shows up in human form, because God created everything out of itself, that also means that I have the power and privileges of this power. And how do I want to use it? The idea that I can plant seeds and allow spirit to let them grow and I receive the benefit from it. It works either way, whether it's that I'm cursing something or I'm blessing something, that it actually works. I mean, think about us getting sober. Somebody planted the seed that we could live one day, 24 hours, 3 hours without picking up. I mean, I know what kind of dope fiend and alcoholic you were. I know what kind of dope fiend and alcoholic I was. Right? Like, what an idea. What a concept. I mean, I couldn't, that wasn't even fathomable. I mean, I couldn't even really think of that was me. And then somehow or another, either through prayers of our family or even our own prayer and gift of the gutter, gift of desperation, where we didn't want to live this way anymore, that seed was like, oh, there's a possibility. And if I turn my will and my life over to the care of these people, they're going to show me how to live. They're going to teach me how to do this. And what happens is that my idea started to change, and I can begin to even visualize myself being sober for 24 hours. And when I achieved that, it was like, yeah, I got today. And that those todays kept adding and to a year, to a 2 year. I mean, like, dang, look, dope fiends, alcoholics of our variety, beloved Terry. I mean, we should be dead, right? Like,
We should be, but should we?
yeah,
Because
but if we should have been, we would have been. But like when, other people have died for less. You know
they
what I mean?
should have they? Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Those are the questions I get to ask. Well, why do I get to live and they get to die? They say that saying in the program. Some people need to live for some of us to die. I'm
And
just
the
showing
reason,
that there's these words and these belief system and in this topic, because I wanted to spend certainly a few more minutes. We have like 6 minutes. But I think I'm hoping through this platform that what we get to see is that it's not about chasing the correct way.
the correct way. Yeah.
About exploring. being inquisitive, going back to that childlike experience and asking myself questions like, I don't want to conform, right? I'm an alcoholic. I don't conform to anything, but I did to alcohol. That's what chapter to the agnostics introduces us to. It starts saying, how much do you mean that you don't believe in anything? Don't you believe in things? Haven't you believed in things? Don't you believe in things now? Do you know
Yeah. What would I have to be thinking and believing about God in order to allow myself the grace to
what?
ask questions and be curious? And if we can get to that place without thinking, oh, well, no, if I start exploring, because remember, for some of us, the seed is planted. Oh, no, if you're into that or into that, that's the devil, that's demons, and you messing with the wrong, and don't go chanting and don't go to the, like, so what might I have to be thinking about God in order to allow myself the grace to even explore or ask myself those questions? And for some of us, it's easier than others, because we've been so indoctrinated to believe that to go to a different religion or even to marry someone from a different religion is taboo. But in sobriety, like, yes, of course it's the Dos Equis man that thrills me, right? Stay curious, my friend. Stay curious, my friend. Like, what great advice.
How is that even, how helpful becomes that it leads me, which we definitely don't have the time, you guys, to get into meditation and prayer.
Yeah. Yeah.
What it does is it carries me, these 12 steps carry me through this, I call spiritual development 101, right? This spiritual
Hmm.
development that now when I get into this place of meditation, curiosity killed the cat. No, here is where
Yeah.
I just let whatever happens happen. I talk about that spiritual thread. The moment we cut the spiritual thread, right? As me working with spirit and inviting and invoking, and I'm calling upon all beings to be present. The moment I do that, I say, you're walking down the street. I always share this. You hear, get those flowers. We tend to go, why? What am I going to do with them? I can't get those flowers. Who are they for? And we call that cutting the spiritual thread. Just
Mm.
the just get them.
Just, yeah.
Get the flowers. And then if we keep practicing unfolding this and begin to trust, because it tells me eventually I'm going to rely upon it.
It's that still small voice
Yeah.
speaking to us in a language we understand if we're open to it. And it takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. We have to develop spiritual practices of listening. I call it the 3 S's so we don't become an S.
Yeah.
Like, it's the 3 S's so we don't become an ass. It's slow down, be still, be silent. And even if it's just in your car, if people drive so much, when you get in your car, just slow down, be still, be silent, get centered. Even if it's just for a minute or two, just get centered. When you arrive, get centered before you enter the building. If you at work, on your way out, do the same thing before you come into your home. Just get centered. I mean, it's listening. That same thing happened to me. And then, I went to a flower shop. I wanted to get some flowers here for the house, and something said, get another set. And I'm like, I'm not spending another $25 on another set. Like, for what? This set is nice and I like it. And then it was like, no, do it. And don't you know, someone, there was an incident where, oh, these flowers are for this person because I was to be a blessing to this person because they needed that inspiration, that whatever it was. And when I listen to that still small voice, when I practice enough of that listening, and the alcoholic ego edging God out goes away, and the ego, the healthy ego, entertaining God only,
Yes.
entertaining good only, entertaining great only, when that becomes like how I walk and how I talk, and I listen, through meditation, through practice, through getting centered, what comes is that ease and grace. Bill Wilson, until the day he died, he searched, he did walking meditations at his house with Lois. Him and Lois had a spiritual practice in the morning where they would get coffee and get back in bed and drink some coffee, and then they would meditate together. You know,
And
his spirit.
his meditation, meditation through reading scripture.
Reading scripture,
Oh,
through writing letters. He would write letters back and forth. I mean, for the grapevine. I mean, there's so many spiritual practices that we can engage in. And oh my God, I want to talk for a whole nother hour right now
we
because
can
we
talk
just started.
I was just thinking about one of the things that real quick that came to my mind was I remember in one of my classes, the professor said, we don't know what energy is. We cannot explain what energy is. We only know what it does.
It does.
Like, I beg your pardon, can you repeat that? And he said, maybe a physicist can try to explain it. We don't know exactly what energy is. We only know what it does. And if I can keep it that simple when we're going to talk about God, and then what we've been sharing is what we've witnessed about what it does.
Yeah.
Really sure what it is. Isn't that cool?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's at the hour, right? I think, Raquel, you said end at 6.
We are, oh my God, we are definitely going to have chapter 2, 3, 4. Oh my God. First of all, I want to say that last statement, Theresa, was just absolutely so beautiful and apropos for my soul. It was just like so perfect. I have a couple of questions and we're going to open it up for everybody. So you just take turns to sit, one for each one of you. First, I love how you talked about this idea of asking questions and how legit sometimes is to say, well, I don't know. But what about this? How legit it is sometimes to say, even in program, wait a moment. Are you telling me that all is God and all is grace, but yet you're telling me that I have to do this? Which is one? Do I have to or don't I have to, right? You talked something that I always wonder. And I think probably with each one of the speakers, I tend to have the same question in different language, but here we go, right? You talked about dedication, submission, and doctrine. You talked about that, T, right? I do have my old ideas, and for my beliefs and that religion that I come from, there's a lot of laws. There's a lot of things that you say, well, either am I doing it to gain the favor of God, or am I doing it because it's a recipe for better living? Yes, sunshine.
Wow. Yes.
Right?
That's
Okay.
that's a yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Right?
What a
So
great
which is
question.
it, right? Or it's a recipe for better living, or you now, and you probably answer that in a beautiful way. You say, Theresa, those 12 steps are the ones that carry me. Maybe this is the way that I ride the wave into something that I don't know. But then again, I didn't pray when I got sober, meaning I got a gift that wasn't requested. Why did I get the gift? I don't know. Questions, right? So I was thinking about this whole idea. Do you do the doctrine, the submission and the submission and the dedication because you gain favor or because it's a better recipe for living? Now the question for Sunshine. All right. Sunshine, you talked about living in the sweetness, and I agree with Theresa. So if everything is so nice and pink and rainbows, what happens if I don't feel like that? That means there's no God in there, right? But you also talked about the most beautiful thing, which is there's something in each experience if I am willing to listen. Like your diving experience, like your mom experience, like pain in my shoulder, which by the way, you talked to me today, like that pain. Like, what are you here to teach me? Right? And how do you incorporate today that doesn't sound so pink and rainbowy until this whole idea that, okay, so if all is God, then all is God. All right. T, you go first and then more questions.
I think that I can vary. There are times that I'll follow the doctrine and the letter to be in favor. to be in acceptance, to be obedient, to show that I agreed, and I have elders, Sunshine, I would talk to them. I have my elders that I'll go to and be like, I don't want to do this anymore. And they're like, no, you will. And so just like sometimes in the program, I'll go to the meeting because I have to. And then eventually I go because I want to.
Yeah.
And is it to be in favor? Yes, favor towards my sobriety. And then now I'm contributing and I'm being a part of. So there are times that I'm going to say I go through both. And I have moments that I'm like, I don't even know why I agreed to this. I'm defiant. I'm rebellious. And I was talking, I'm going to do my own thing. But when I do that, I think things get worse. And then I go, uncle. And then I'll go back into being in favor of, and then it'll change into it's just a way of being and a way of life and a way that I am. And it's just a blessing to be and have the experience. I think that was the second part of it. But yeah, I'll go back and forth on that.
Mm.
Yeah. And for my question, thank you for the question. And I love that Tere asked me that, that as well. No, I mean, it's so interesting that when someone says the sweetness or the this or the that, that the automatic sometimes is, well, if it's not there, does it mean that it's not there? Or if I don't see it, does it mean that it's not there? And it doesn't mean that at all. But I know that for me, if you're telling me, yo, come work out, I'm going to give you a hell of a workout and you're going to be in pain and, your muscles are going to hurt and you're going to be sore. You're going to have to probably be in the tub on an Epsom salt bath. I'm not coming to your workout, babe. Sorry. But if you tell me, look, you might get sore, but your body, you're going to get so toned and fit. You're bringing out the benefits. So when I talk about the sweetness of spirit and that God is everywhere present, and I talk about that, I'm talking to those who are tired of the bullshit and who don't want the pain as a regular. And saying there's another way, there's a sober way. Here's, it's not always going to be easy, but it's here and it's sweet. So one is not mutually exclusive. And no, it doesn't mean that God is not there or absent. It just means that I haven't been trained to look for spirit in those times. Because guess what? When I was in the gutter and when I was slamming dope and drinking and hoeing, spirit was right there.
Mm-hmm.
Right there. But I wasn't looking. Who wants to talk about God unless you in bed? Oh God, oh God, oh God. Ain't nobody looking for God in the bar, in the dope fiend, in the gutter. That's not what we're looking for. You got that good stuff? Yeah. Oh, have you tried this liquor? I mean, that's what, right? So no, when I speak of it, it's not to exclude that God is, God is in everything and everybody. It's in all the political candidates. It doesn't matter which side I'm on. Do I have the discipline and the wherewithal to see God in the candidate that's running against my candidate? That, beloved, is work.
It's
Do I
almost like
have in the unlovable, like Terry said, do I have the power and the discipline to see God in what people say is unlovable? The person experiencing homelessness who hasn't showered. Can I see God in that?
Mm-hmm.
And it may not look pretty all the time, but in that something happens and transforms it to a sweetness, to a tenderness, even if that tenderness is within me. So that I'm reminded to be tender and kind and compassionate to humanity, to all of life. Yeah, that's my answer. Somebody asked a question in the chat as well.
Go for it. Read it out loud for us, please, because we don't see it. Only you guys.
Yeah.
And raise your hands. You don't have questions. I don't believe.
Yeah.
Raise your hand, guys.
Somebody said, we're happy that you're here, but someone else said, God is fundamentally inside of every living being. Does he reside in man-made lab introfertile beings. Either all of it is God or none of it is God. And oh, by the way, everything and nothing have the same weight, the same value. Everything and nothing is the same. So even in if I'm human and I make something, God is in that what I've made because I've made it from what God already made, which is already here.
Even in
I
our way
can't
of,
make,
like,
huh?
just wanted to say, even in our way of thinking of
Yeah,
science, right? The ability to create and technology, that all comes out of us.
of
And
us.
I
Yeah.
find it fascinating that some people talk about agnostic or atheist, and I find, and they get into this controversy about science, and I'm like, science is more open-minded to one that wants to hold on to their judgment and biases, right, of the idea of God and religion. Why are they more open-minded? And because even in science, if anyone is a scientist or an engineer, any level of study, you always leave room for error. You leave room
Yeah.
for the possibility that just maybe, I reject the null. You know what I mean? What is my hypothesis? What is my theory? And it can always be challenged and examined. And so I was just thinking about that. If science creates something, or the Big Bang, that comes out of God itself, of the idea as man, as technology, as science. They're not, like you were saying, mutually exclusive.
Yeah. I mean, even AI, because we feed AI.
Yeah.
And even if we feed it codes, which are zeros and ones and patterns, those codes seek out information and bring it back, or even are programmed to make stuff up.
Well, we can get deeper with that. Within the Yoruba tradition and the African tradition, everything is done through science. It's not pseudoscience or hocus pocus. We believe that everything is actual numbers and series of codes that
Codes.
create this language in which God communicates. So that's even science within itself, which they thought it was spooky. But Sandy has his hand up.
Yeah.
Sandy.
Oh, yeah. I can't see. Let me change my view.
Hi, Teresa. Hi, Sunshine. Hi, everybody. Um, God, thank you for having me. My sponsor let me know that you were going to be on, Teresa. She shared with me your story once, recording of your story, and it was so close to mine. And I grew a connection with you through this, but I just thank you so much. I just want to thank you so much for coming when you did, so I can be here and stay, right? But I thought about when I think it was you, Sunshine, that said, or one of you said, the part about watch what you pray for because you just might get it, right? So, I want to say when I've been here 2 years, a little over 2 years, and I'm learning to pray again, right? Well, I'm learning to pray first because I never know how to do that before prior. And so I follow the examples on this everything AA app, from the Lord's Prayer to the step 1, 3, you know. And the best thing I've heard in that, and in practicing this recovery, is thy will be done, right? Because although I will start to pray and then I'll think about somebody that I'm angry at, right? My fiance, and then I'll go, and I hope that he learns this lesson, right? And but then if I think about it, right, if it hurts him, I'll be the one crying. So you know how it just all comes back around. Like when you pray. So I thought about that when you said watch what you pray for, because you just might get it. If I pray for something, then I'll be like, and I have to stop, right? I'll say my piece, and then I'll say, never mind, God, thank you. Your will be done, right? Because my picker is broke, and I go to pick in a prayer. It's not gonna. I'll be the one saying, oh, why did I pray that? This shouldn't happen, hurting myself. So
Thank you.
I love
Thank
that.
you, Sandy. Thank you,
Thank
Sandy.
you.
It looks like we're running
Okay.
out of time, so
No, it's
I'm
okay.
not in
We have
charge of
another
this.
question. Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Don't worry.
we
Go
got
for
two
it.
more questions. We got Amy and Roman.
I was just,
Amy, come forward.
if you knew that every word, if we were to know that every word we spoke was a prayer, how would you keep I speak then if that every word is that the universe is in?
Something happened to your microphone, Tere. And I'm not sure.
When
Okay.
Amy,
Yes, go ahead. Yeah, she muted. Go ahead. Say that again because this is powerful, everybody.
if I were to believe, I'm going to say not new, if I were to believe that every word I spoke is a prayer, how would I speak then? That the universe was listening. How would I speak then? If every word was a prayer, how would I speak about you, about me, about the situation? Well, my daddy used to tell me that. If every word is a prayer, how would would I pay attention? That's that thing of think before you speak. And then I can go to the place of what if all my thoughts were a prayer? Uh, but we want to go ahead and get Amy, but you wanted to say
No,
something.
yeah. And Terry, that is the point. And that's why I speak of the sweetness and
Yeah.
the power because our words carry energy. Our words and it's not like magic, like hocus pocus magic, but our words are vibrations and powerful and they carry depth and weight. And so when you curse somebody out, you're really cursing yourself out because where did that come from? Inside of you. So when we're having a disagreement and I bless you and I'm not being sarcastic and it's just like, I bless you, we disagree and I let it be. I mean, like those are the prayers. And so in my prayer, I'm not begging and asking God to please grant me and please give me a Mercedes Benz. I'm speaking affirmatively, being grateful. That's why the practice of gratitude is one of the most powerful prayers of gratitude because what I appreciate appreciates. What I speak with my words and add value to, then more value is added to that and it grows. But go ahead, Amy.
And I want to leave this thought because we've talked about this. That may be true, but we hear we're sick as our secret. So how do I not walk around going, I'm so grateful. I used to tell Lovey that. What if I was a rock, but I keep saying I'm a flower? When am I going to realize that I'm a rock? But anyway, no, don't answer. Don't answer. But
Okay, yeah. That's a whole nother talk show. We'll be back. Amy, go ahead.
Thank you, ladies, so much. So, honestly, my question is, when will you be back? Because I messaged Raquel because I don't want to live in like confirmation bias where I'm just like, yeah. Because there were a lot of things that invited me to look deeper. My sponsor says I'm shallow. So tonight's conversation was this invitation to look kind of deeper into the beliefs and like what Theresa just talked about. And am I practicing the 3 S's in my daily life and all of these things? So I loved it. But man, I want to know what your meditative practices look like so I can get the cheat code on that. Thank you both too so much.
Thank you. And you have my number, Amy. Reach out. I'll give you sunshine. But yeah, that's what I'll say. Sunshine and I were worried because I'm telling you, when her and I talk, and even when we're talking about family stuff or things going on, we go whoop.
Yeah. Hours go by.
God. Go ahead, Roman.
Hey, you guys. Thank you so much for this. I don't know what it is, a workshop, a meeting. I'm so into it. My question's for both of you guys. So I've heard both of you guys share that because I've been around both of you guys for a really long time. Throughout your journey in Alcoholics Anonymous, that your God's gotten bigger, your God changes, right? Can you guys both share about what that looks like and when things are so dark that you can't see God, how do you find God?
Oh, okay. Let's see. Raquel, how are we doing on time? Okay, I'm not going to try to hop on that.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Here's the thing. See, this is so open and whoever wants to hear more about God, we're here.
Okay.
So go for
Got
it.
it.
But I got a few more minutes. I do have class.
Yes.
Told my professor a few minutes. Okay. I'm gonna cause Sunshine, she's got some good stuff on this. Okay. It's funny cause Sunshine, Nena, would always say to me, well, Nena, it sounds to me like it's time for you to get another God, right? When I'm going,
A bigger God.
a bigger God when I'm going through stuff. I believe that as I continue to clean house and do inventory, my relationship and understanding of this God idea, I'm going to say God idea, changes. But sometimes when I'm in my darkest place, which is usually like grief, like heavy, heavy grief, I think about when I was new in recovery. I didn't even have to know that there was one. I held on to the fact that you knew there was one. And so I have hope. So when I don't see or think there's a God or believe I've been abandoned by God or everything, or I was asking someone that in our meditation meeting and I'm going into the norms of these things that I do to meditate and find this peace, and I'm just met with darkness and I'm just not ready to go into this dark place yet, right? I reach out to you. I call Nena and I hear about your relationship with this power. And I listen to other people in the rooms. And I just hold on to that. I just hold on to that. And I don't drink no matter what. And that's why I say I put one hand in this God idea and one hand in this program. And then one day, and it's interesting, I didn't realize that in the darkness, in the question marks, like my brother and I used to talk about, there are times I got all these question marks, including maybe there isn't any God and we're fooling ourselves. If I keep doing this, somehow I come out of it like a phoenix rising. I'm going to get emotional. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know how to explain that. I'm thinking that I'm in darkness, that I'm not growing, that I'm not developing, that I'm not spiritually connected, but I am. Because it is in letting go of all these ideas, all of these things that I've rested on my laurels of thinking I know God, I understand my life, I know who I am. It's in those places that I come out going, I don't think I know anything. I don't know anything. It's so interesting. And then I start asking, who am I to say there is no God really? It's so I know I can get emotional because I'm thinking that's a terrible place to be, but that's the most beautiful place for me to be. And I'm there now. We were talking about that. I'm there now. I'm there now. What do I believe? What did I agree to? Where is God? Is there one? Some people say, they call me and say, I feel disconnected. I go, oh, no. You're not disconnected. Because when you're disconnected, you don't even acknowledge that you feel disconnected. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, go ahead, Nina. Because that's...
Yeah. I don't know that I have much more to add to that, outside of, in our finite thinking, we judge wrongly. We misjudge. We think that the darkness is a bad thing or that it's a struggle when it's in fact, if I just let go, I am free. And it is in that experience that I learn to let go. Or it's also in looking at how am I judging this? And, the new lingo that that people use, I feel like I'm such and such. And if we actually get back to our verbiage and actually talk about, I feel sad or glad or mad, and I think that such and such, we can get to the point a lot quicker because, everybody's like, I feel like you're trying to keep me down. That's not a freaking feeling. That's a thought. And, our alcoholism centers in our thinking, and we over here masking it. Like, I feel like you trying to put me down. No, it's a thought. And you don't even know where that thought came from. And how do you know that to be true and to question the thoughts? But unless we get really clear with ourselves of the emotion that we're feeling or the body sensation that we're feeling and the thoughts that we're having, I think that because when I don't get my way and I'm struggling, that, I'm not in God's favor or I'm disconnected or there's something wrong. No,
Nothing.
this just is. What if, when my meditation gets stale, it's like time to make the donuts, and I'm sitting in meditation and it's like, this is not working. I'm over, like, when it gets stale like that, it's like, okay, time to spice it up. Kind of like when, your sexual relationships and marriage just kind of go wah, 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 and you got to spice it up. Like, we got to spice up our relationship with spirit. We got to court spirit, God, infinite intelligence, like it's a lover that we like. Like, damn, I want to get to know you. Let me spend time with you. Ooh, you're so powerful and, everywhere present. Like, like, we don't even do that. And that's like the most powerful relationship we can have. But we busy chasing tail over there trying to get somebody. Yeah.
Worrying about the fact that.
Worrying. Yeah.
I've been in a relationship for 35 years and no, it's not like we were when we were 24. We're both 60.
Yeah.
So why is it that I think this relationship with this power is going to remain the same way it did when I came in the rooms at 24? It's like, I'm always growing and changing these labels that I put. Something's wrong. What do you mean what's wrong? I have to dismantle ego, self, perception, biases. I think Rico shared yesterday that I have to find out. I got to find out what's wrong. It's kind of like I'm discovering what ain't working more so than what is, because that's working all the time. This is the sense of arrogance and ego that thinks that until I figure out what's working, it'll start working. No, my dear beloved. It's been working. It's been working. It is happening. That's why they use the term your conscious contact. That means I become consciously aware of what already is. And so I love the 12 steps. Awaken. They use the 12 steps is it's just most brilliant for someone who learned all type of religious doctrines and theologies and ideas and multiple religions and rituals and ceremonies. The Big Book is extraordinary. Did you see all the stuff that these guys were reading? They were studying what their library looked like. Anyway.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yes, I am going to allow just Sophie to ask her question because I know Theresa has to go to class. And look, everybody's still here. So we're just, by the way, you are coming back, both of you. I already got a million requests here, so I'm booking you. Sophie, please go ahead and then we got a few more minutes together. Sure.
Yeah, so Terry can go to class.
On Sophie.
We're talking about the feminine energy and how there is no feminine representation and feminine power within most religions. So it's a good conversation. I'm missing out in class right now. Go ahead, Sophie.
Hi, everyone. Sophie Alcoholic. I just really am in extreme gratitude to be in the presence of your souls today. Wow, it was really eye-opening, and it really helped healed me in a sense where sometimes you think that you're in some sort of a spiritual journey and that you're kind of on your own, and you kind of brushed so many avenues that are infinite possibilities of where my mind can go from now on because of all the self-blockage that are put in society now that you've really opened fourth dimension for me, just being in your presence and hearing everything you had to say. And I'm just in extreme gratitude with all of you today. And if I can just say this one little thing, is two things. Someone said to me, things happen, they do not happen to you, they happen for you. And the other thing is also in the dark times, whenever I was 7 weeks in bed, one of my great friends in AA said, "Are you in gratitude right now?" And I said, "No, I'm not." And it completely switched my mindset to be in gratitude in my sickness, because there is something to learn for me in that experience. So thank you so much, and bless all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gee, all these belief systems. Thank you for sharing that, Sophia. It's so interesting. Sometimes I go, that'll be true until I don't think it's true anymore.
It
And
was
then
not. Yeah.
it's so fascinating to me, this whole spiritual development thing. And I think the more I grow spiritually and learn, the less I know and the more human I become. The more human experiences I have. I remember this woman, Carolyn Mays, said one time, I've gone through spiritual madness. I can get so deep with spiritual development. And I remember I was depressed, and she said, if you were meant to be a spirit, you would be. You're a human being. Get over it and get up. And I was like, oh, okay. Because I can go into a meditation, you guys, and go into silence and daze and never come back to y'all. And then when I do come back to you, I'm disheartened and disgusted and sad because this world is so horrible. And so, I think I'm in less judgment of all of it today. And I'm allowing myself to, like Lovey used to say that too. You sounds to me like you just having an experience. And I'd be like, you think? So Roman, sounds to me like you're just having an experience.
Mm-hmm.
Anna, I love you.
Thank you. I love you too. Thank you for
Thank
inviting me to come to this, Terry. This is good. And Raquel, thank you for
Oh,
hosting this
this is
forum.
amazing. I'm going to book you again. And in closing, I'll close this for everybody. We stated in page 29 in our big book. We hope no one will consider these self-revealing accounts in bad taste. Our hope is that many alcoholics desperately in need will hear these stories and be persuaded to say, yes, I am one of them. I must have this thing. Thank you both for coming. We're going to want you back. T, thank you so much. Sunshine, amazing. Thank you all. On mute and thank the speakers before T goes back to class.
Oh my
Thank
God.
you so
Thank
much.
you.
Oh
Oh my
my
gosh.
Yeah.
ladies.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Oh.